Hello everyone, welcome to the Concern Podcast, where we unpack political, socio-economic and cultural stories shaping our world. I am Emmanuel Taban. Now, the day is drawing closer when the East African country of Uganda is conducting its election, and that's going to be on the 15th of January next year. And it's very interesting that the country is yet getting into another tough race. And this is a general election where the country will head into electing their next president, but also members of the National Assembly, the legislature, and also some members of the local government. I mean, they go into electing the LCs, the LC5s, chairperson, LC1, 2, and all these kind of positions. But we all know that in this election, the tide race here is between the incumbent president, who is none other than President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of the National Resistance Movement, and the opposition leader or the opposition presidential candidate, Bobi Wine, also known as Robert Kyagulanyi of the National Unity Platform. These are the major, contestants in this election. Of course, the other presidential candidates likes of Nandala Mafabi of the FDC, the likes of the Ant for National Transformation, Mugiso Muntus, but it seems like Bobi Wine and Museveni appears to be the major candidate in this race. In this video, I want to tell you why in 2026, after the elections in January 15, the incumbent president Yoweri Kaguta Museveni will still be declared and still be serving as the president of Uganda. I mean, people have different views. Of course, we have seen the crowd that the National Unity Platform and Bobi Wine is able to actually pull out during his campaign rally. Very huge one. And if you look at it very critically, you'll also realize that Bobi Wine appeared to be having actually the support of the real people, the support of the majority of Ugandans. He appears to be more popular than the incumbent president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And he appeared to have also a little bit changed his personality, his aspect, his knowledge of things compared to when he actually vied for in the previous election. And if I'm to say, I think the National Unity Platform and Bobi Wine have actually registered an increase in popularity and support in this election cycle compared to the previous one. And therefore, if we are to put the National Unity Platform and Bobi Wine and then the National Resistance Movement candidate Museveni into a fair space to have a free and credible election, majority of people will argue that actually Bobi Wine will walk away with the elections of next year, with the results of election, or he will actually be declared the president. But I want to tell you the reality of an electoral process in an African setting. You know, the hardest truth, the most brutal truth about an electoral process in Africa is that you don't need to be popular. You don't need to be the most likable candidate. But in Africa electoral process, all you need to have is you need to have the system. That is the most important thing in Africa. If you are running for an elections, I mean, I'm not saying that happens in all African countries, but in majority of African countries, you need the system. If you have the system, no matter how unpopular you are, you're destined to win an election. And also, it is very hard in Africa to win against an incumbent president. Very, very hard. It is very hard also to win against a political party that has been serving since the liberation of that individual country. We have seen this happen in so many countries that it becomes almost hard to dispose a political party that has actively participated in liberation of a country. And this is simply because the people who participated, who are tied to that political party, they look at themselves as the liberators of their country, and therefore they deserve to serve in that country, regardless of what, and they intend to do that without any limitations. But as I said that in this video, I want to explain to you why next year in 2026, Robert Chagulanyi or Bobi Wine of National Unity Platform may be elected by the people to be the president of Uganda or to be the next president of Uganda, but the actual president of Uganda for 2026 will be Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. In other words, Robert Chagulanyi or Bobi Wine will be elected, but Museveni will walk away with the election. He'll walk away with the results of election and he will be declared the winner. I'll explain to you why. In an African electoral process, all you need to have is one, you need to have the institution that is tasked with the responsibility of conducting, monitoring, supervising, and declaring the results of an election to be by your side. And that is one thing that the incumbent president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has. The National Electoral Commission of Uganda, it's completely on the side of Museveni. In Uganda, in an African electoral process, you need to have the security apparatus of the state to be by your side. And that is clearly open to every one of us, that Museveni has the army, he has the police, and therefore he has the luxury to use them in whatsoever way he wants that can actually deliver the 2026 election. He has that. And so that's why you've seen in the campaign trails of the National Unity Platform, the presidential campaigns of Robert Chagulanyi have been trailed by the army security personnel following him up and down and trying to obstruct him at some point. That is all what you need to have in an African electoral process. You need to have the security apparatus by your side. You need to have the electoral commission by your side. You need to have the judicial system by your side so that in case maybe the opposition try to go for appeal, contesting the results of an election, you still have the judiciary rule in your favor. And Museveni surely has that on his side. And therefore, if you're out there thinking that the National Unity Platform and President Robert Chagulanyi is going to be the president of Uganda in 2026, I think you're daydreaming. I'll say this openly. Robert Chagulanyi himself, the National Unity Platform, and Chagulanyi's closest associates, they know it better than anyone that they are not going to actually be the ruling political party in 2026. They know that very clear, more than anyone else. They know that. In fact, their participation in the election, their participation in fronting a presidential candidate, it's not to mean that they know they will actually win, but they're just doing it for the sake of contesting, because that is a political party that is formed with the purpose of taking over power. So they are taking the process that it is, but with no hope that they will be declared the winners. They know that better. Therefore, based on all this, I would say Robert Chagulanyi may be elected by the people. He might be the people's favorite. But the most brutal truth is that he won't be the president of Uganda in 2026. Thank you so much. That is my take about the forthcoming elections in Uganda that is happening in January 15, 2026. Before we close today's episode, here's a quick message from our sponsor, Wani.co. If you've been planning to build a website but the cost has been holding you back, Wani.co makes it affordable and stress-free this time around. Whether you are an individual, a non-profit organization, or a business, Wani.co designs professional websites starting from as cheap as $250. Individuals can actually launch with a starter website of up to 7 pages and a free email, or choose an advanced option with unlimited pages, a professional portfolio, and branding support. For non-profit organizations, they can select flexible packages from basic websites to premium solutions with e-commerce features and ongoing support. And for business companies, Wani.co delivers company-ready website with hosting, staff training, and multilingual options and online stores. And the best part of it is actually that you can build your dream website within your budget. OneIt.co is an affordable, accessible, and professional partner. And to get started, you can actually visit OneIt.co or email them at info@oneit.co, or you can get in touch with them through their WhatsApp number at +1 226 504 3322. OneIt.co, proudly affiliated with Jobs to Apply. And if you're wondering of what I'm talking about, here are some samples of website created by OneIt.co. You can see them right here.